morning. It feels like I have not been on one of these calls for a few weeks because I haven't, and it feels like it's been forever since I've been here with you, but I am glad to be back. This is that time of year where in real estate, many of your peers are going to get a little lazy, or maybe well-deserved R&R they're taking. But definitely that time of year when we see a lot of folks just kind of sit back, not take a lot of action, maybe double down on the vacations, maybe double down on the spending time with family at home, which is all fine and good if that's what's working for you. But I think that there's a tremendous opportunity right now. And the first thing I kind of wanted to do as we get started today is just ask you the question of how is your business right now? How is biz right now? Right now, is your business good? Are things happening for you? Are you getting buyer calls, seller calls? Are you taking appointments? Are you taking listings? How is business? Because however it is right now is a direct reflection of the activities and the action you took 90 days ago, which is where we're at today. And what we know is that it's very cyclical in real estate, and the action that we put in today isn't going to show up for a few months. And so I think we have a tremendous opportunity right now when others may not be doubling down, when others are distracted by a lot of the chaos that's happening in the industry, because there certainly is a lot of it. I think it's a great opportunity for us to really double down and take our unfair share of the market. So yeah, just excited to be back, excited to just share what I know, share what we've learned, give you some tips and tricks that are going to help you in your business. And what I want to get started with today is some research that I uncovered. So there is some new research out as always, and you all know, if you know me by now, you know that I am I'm a big nerd. I just love real estate, and I just love all things real estate, and I love studying it, and I love learning, and I love consumer behavior, and all of that is just something that I'm very passionate about. And so 1000 Watt, which is a very reputable organization, I love their work. I love their research. I love what they're doing as far as helping game changers in industry brand themselves appropriately. And from time to time, they research and they release their findings. And some of these findings they'll release for free, and then other of these findings are behind a paywall where you have to pay a sizable chunk of change in order to get this data. And so I always love just sharing the tidbits because they're insightful. This one has to do with consumers and if they've heard of the lawsuits, the commission changing lawsuits. So I thought this one was particularly of interest, especially to all of us. And the question that was asked is, have you read or heard about the recent legal settlement agreement between the National Association of Realtors that could change practices around real estate transactions? And what I found to be interesting is there were a lot of no's. 63% said no, they haven't heard of it. But look at that. 37% have heard of it. So I'm curious for you in your business, if you are running into folks that have heard of the lawsuit, that maybe are asking you questions about the lawsuit and whatnot, but it looks like news is spreading pretty quickly. We see all of the terrible headlines that are speaking these changes into existence, which we really don't know how it's all going to play out yet, but that's pretty interesting. And then here's a follow-up question that they asked, and this is in regards to real estate agents, and what's the biggest reason why you have a low opinion of real estate agents? I thought this one was interesting as well. Almost half of those that responded said that they think real estate agents are overpaid. Pretty interesting. 40% believe real estate agents are unskilled or unethical. So again, interesting data to kind of be aware of. I think that we can combat these, but this is what we're up against. So we're up against this industry that's changing. We're up against consumer sentiment against realtors that is not always the most favorable. And then you've got all these other existential threats. Here's something else I thought was really interesting. I wanted to share with you kind of on the macro, kind of to keep you aware of some of the changes that are happening in real estate. And this one, it was a Housing Wire release that broke this, that Mr. Cooper, they're one of the largest servicers of mortgages across the nation, one of the largest. In fact, my mortgage was with Mr. Cooper for years and years. Mr. Cooper they own an auction site called Zome, and they are pushing people to sell their home DIY on Zome without an agent. And that is the pitch, is sell without an agent. Now, I always think it's interesting when folks are trying to get people to do something without an agent, when if you look at how easy it is to put your house on Zilio for a make me move price, and how easy it would be to go sign up for one of these $500 flat fee MLS listings and put your house on the MLS, how easy it is in today's day and age to do it yourself as a consumer. Yet the amount of folks that use a real estate agent is higher than it ever has been. So despite the ease on which someone could go and put their house on an auction website, despite the fact that they have all of these other opportunities to list their home on their own or DIY it, they're choosing not to. They're still choosing to be represented by a realtor. And I think that speaks volumes. But the interesting thing here is their CEO, the CEO says that they want to meet consumers where they're at. And there's definitely a need. Consumers definitely want to do things in a more digital fashion. There's definitely that need. I know many of you also use some sort of auction component in your listing and in your lead generation, which is awesome. But this is the Zome site. This is where they're really trying to funnel homeowners onto this site to list up their home and sell it on their own without an agent. I think it's kind of alarming. And I think that if you're talking to your homeowners, you may be asking them if they're aware of these things. You may be sharing with them that you have other products and services that you can offer as well, so that you can guide them through that process. So as you can imagine, a lot of the buyers on these auction networks are wholesale discount buyers, and they're looking for a steep discount. So keep that in mind. Educate and inform your people. This one, to me, we've thought of this angle many times. We see that the servicer has kind of this opportunity to really siphon transactions out if they did it properly. But the DIY aspect, it's interesting. Data says that more people choose to be represented than unrepresented. So that will be interesting to see. But Google search traffic for selling your home has remained relatively flat this past week. It's up ever so slightly year over year. But you compare that to beginning of May, we saw a little bit of a surge in that Google search traffic. That's calmed down. And we're running about the same year over year. So the amount of folks that are searching sell my house, that sort of thing on Google, has remained relatively on par with last year. What I did find interesting, and you can try this, I love Google Trends. I'm constantly on there searching all sorts of different stuff up. But if you go on to Google Trends and you search sell my house, and if you look at the rising search queries, if you are in Texas, I would definitely be pummeling your people extra hard, because there was just an astronomical amount of search traffic in Texas looking to sell their home, looking to sell their house fast. San Antonio, Lubbock, Austin, those were some of the ones that are sticking out in my mind. But if you're in Texas, you're going to want to pay extra special attention to this, because it does seem like in Texas there is a massive uptick in folks that are searching out a solution to sell their home quickly. So what is the driver behind that? Could be a lot of things, but keep that in mind. And if you're in Texas especially, definitely check that out. I thought it was rather interesting. We know that inventory is rising the most in Florida and in Texas. And we also know that those were two of the states that really took a lot of those inbound transients that could work from home, and they ended up in these like Zoom towns, if you will. And so maybe that's waning a little. Maybe now people are headed back to where their work is. Maybe they have to return to the office. All sorts of things could be reshuffling this and causing more listings in Florida and Texas. Insurance is definitely one that we know has been a challenge. Some folks can't even get property insurance in certain parts of the US right now, which is really unprecedented. And so a lot's going on, a lot is changing. And as we look at all that is changing in real estate, it provides us such an extra special opportunity, I believe, because most people don't like change and most people fear change. And so if we're the ones that embrace it and lead the way into the future, I think we're going to really, really thrive. And side note, you may notice I'm in a different location today. I'm in our podcast room. We're having some extra offices built in our suite, and it is very noisy where I normally do my Monday morning calls. So I'm sitting down. I usually like to stand up because I have more energy, but I'm sitting down today and the controls are just a little bit different and interesting for me. So if you see me kind of fiddling around, it is a new space for me taking this call. And we hope to kind of be back rocking and rolling to normal here in the next couple weeks. Talking about change, we've had so much change here at Zoodealio. We've been hiring and onboarding new employees. We've been making new partnerships within the industry that have really enhanced our member base. And we're working with many realtors now across the country. So if this is your first time attending today's call, thank you. I just want to say welcome. We're glad you're here. And we do these every Monday. So we had a couple weeks that were off, but every Monday we're pretty faithful about that. And typically myself and Elliot switch off. And so next Monday you'll see Elliot, the following Monday me, etc. And a lot going on here. We have a lot of really cool things that we are working on for you. We've talked about our updated blast report. It is going to knock your socks off. And we're probably on the 30-day countdown of when we can show that to you. So stay tuned. We can't wait for you to see how incredible it is. It really provides all of that homeowner insight that people want in one simple, digestible report. It kind of combines the bests of like a home bot, the bests of like the cash offerings, even other reports that I'm seeing on the marketplace like Fellow and like Home Genie. All of that, all of the little things you love about all of those reports, it condenses it down into one, and you are going to love it. One of my favorite things about our new report that's coming out is the rent versus sell analysis. Because again, I'm such a nerd, and I Google what people search, and what we know is a lot of people are locked into really low interest rates, and they're searching, hey, should I sell my house? Should I rent it? And so our new report really gives the homeowner the ability to see and forecast out what it would look like to keep their home, what it would look like to sell it, and kind of gives them that comparison. And it also does a short-term versus long-term rental analysis, which is, I believe, just amazing. A lot of folks are considering leasing their home, and then they're also wondering, well, what could it get as a vacation home, especially if they're in a market where that makes sense. So stay tuned for that. It's coming. All right, let me get back on track here. So Fannie Mae released their latest home purchase sentiment, and their chief economist, Doug Duncan, he had these words to say. It's a little much, but I'm going to read it because there's some really great nuggets in here. So the home purchase sentiment index, it was unchanged this month, and it may have hit another plateau as consumers maintain their wait and see approach to the housing market. Overall, housing sentiment increased November through February, driven largely by the consumer belief that mortgage rates would move lower. However, recent data showing stickier than expected inflation, rising mortgage rates, and continued home price appreciation appear to have given the consumer pause regarding the market's direction. While only 20% of consumers think it's a good time to buy a home, 67% think it's a good time to sell one, a share that's moved steadily upward since the start of the year. We think consumers' generally improved sense of home selling condition bodes well for listings and housing activity, particularly for the segment of the population who may need to move for lifestyle reasons and have already begun adjusting their financial expectations to the current mortgage rate and price environment. However, for potential home buyers in less of a rush to transact, ongoing affordability challenges may continue to keep many of them on the sidelines. One reason why we expect home sales to tick up only gradually over the course of the year. Okay, so there was a lot in there, but I thought it did a great job of kind of encompassing where we're at. Now, I know all real estate is hyper-local, so your market may be underperforming, maybe outperforming the macro real estate market. However, this is a very great synopsis of where we're at. We all thought rates were going to come down. They didn't. There are the doom and gloom bubble bursting people out there, but as of yet, we're not seeing the housing market bust, right? We're seeing prices. In fact, CoreLogic came out earlier this month and said that prices hit a new record nationally. So prices are remaining high. Rates are remaining high. So we know sellers are readjusting their expectations and buyers are still likely going to wait and see. Maybe there will be a home that will motivate them to make that jump. I think the best advice here for buyers is if you try and time the market, you're doing it wrong. If you're wanting to get into the market now and you can, you should. It's really interesting that we're in this time and space because everyone was predicting that it would be such a better time, especially rate-wise. And what we know is buyers are very payment sensitive. Of course, payments are at an all-time high. Fannie Mae also revised their rate predictions. So earlier this year, everyone was a little bit more optimistic. They revised those rate predictions. You can see what they are on the screen. You can see that now, instead of thinking that we're going to be in the sixes, they're hanging on to that 7. And Fannie Mae is predicting that we're going to be in the 7s throughout the remainder of the year. The Fed may lower rates, but what started off as kind of coming into the year, we thought that that was for sure going to happen. It hasn't. We don't know if it will. We do know that the spread between the Treasury and the mortgage interest rate is higher than normal. It's tracking anywhere from 200 plus basis points over the 10-year Treasury. And that is because there is not a good buyer of the mortgage-backed securities right now. So we've got a lot of factors that are keeping rates higher. And as you can see here, Fannie Mae is also predicting that they will remain slightly elevated through the remainder of the year. And then they're now predicting next year we're going to see them tick down a little bit. So always fun to track this and see what they say. Looks like we got a bonus slide in here today. I didn't intend for this slide to be in today's, basically not on topic with our producer and content editor here at Zoodealio. He is Gen Z and he's in his mid-20s and he's just really passionate about how a lot of people in his generation think that they'll never be able to buy a home. They're feeling extremely discouraged by the economic conditions in which they're living through. And so anyway, he and I are working on we were working on a podcast around this topic, and I found this data, which I found to be really interesting. So I'll share it with you since it's up on our screens today. And this is what it looked like for grandparents. Their average pre-tax income, and this is all adjusted for inflation, was $74,000. You can see here that the cost of a public college tuition was 13% of their income. And you can see that the house price to their income was a 3x multiplier. Now you look at the parents, it was a little bit lower for income, $70,000, a little bit higher for college, 17%. House price to income was 4 times. We had a 4-time multiplier. But look at the kids. So this is that Gen Z demographic. Their average pre-tax income is $56,000, but look at that annual cost of public as percentage of their income. 43% of their income is what it would cost to attend college, and house prices are a 7-time multiplier on their income. So it's definitely tough for Gen Z, and another topic for another day, but I thought I would explain the slide since it found its way in here anyway. But let's move on to the effective mortgage rate of outstanding mortgages by state. I find this to be fascinating because it shows the average mortgage rate in your state. So I'm in Arizona. Our average mortgage rate is 3.9%. If you're in Texas, you're at 4.2%. California enjoys some of the lowest rates at 3.7% on average. So we can see by this map how homeowners are enjoying historic low interest rates. And so much so that I don't believe that I will see rates as low as 2 and 3s again in my lifetime. I just don't. I don't believe that I will see that. Maybe it will surprise me and I will, and that would be great. But I think that that was kind of that once in a lifetime thing. And I don't know that we will see rates that low again. But we know that many homeowners are enjoying these very low favorable rates, which is why we have had the lock-in effect. And what basically is happening is it's preventing homes from selling, right? People aren't putting their houses on the market because they're unwilling to trade up from that 3.7% interest rate to a 7% interest rate. So we know that we've lost transactions because of this. And no doubt it's been significant. So if you find your state here, the Federal Housing Finance Agency estimated that between Q2 of 2022 and Q4 of 2023, that was the amount of home sales that were lost in your state. So if you were in Texas, there were about 125,000 home sales that didn't occur because folks aren't bringing their home to market. California, 182,000 home sales that didn't occur because people aren't selling. They're unwilling to trade up. So a little bit of this is going to wane. And we saw a little earlier in that statement from the chief economist for Fannie Mae, Doug Duncan, and his prediction is this is going to start to ease. We're going to start to see people sell. People are going to realize that, hey, the new normal is that 7% rate, and they're going to start adjusting their expectations and making a move. And I also found some predictions for the number of transactions in 2024, 2025. So we've got a forecast here. This is from Statista. And what they're forecasting is that we are going to see an uptick in 2024, a little bit more than 2023. So we ended last year with roughly 4.09 million home sales nationwide. This year, it's predicted to be a little bit more, 4.3-ish. And then next year, they're saying that we will surpass 5 million transactions, which would be great because here's what's happening is there's not enough transactions. There's a ton of us realtors. We're all vying for those same transactions. And a lot of us aren't getting the amount of business that we're used to. So we could see some reprieve on the transaction count front. It could increase a little, and I think that's all good news. So wanted to share that with you as well. Let's dive in though, because here's something that's really interesting. You have such an amazing opportunity at your fingertips. 1000 Watt released their findings from a survey they conducted of home sellers. And what they did is they surveyed home sellers on what were the things that really stressed you out during the transaction. And here were the 6 most common stressful things for home sellers. So number 6 was open houses. 7% of all sellers that were surveyed said that this was the most stressful part of selling their home. They didn't like having to prepare for the open houses. They didn't like having to pack up and leave for that period of time over the weekend. They didn't like maybe having to corral their animals and take them with them. Whatever the case may be, open houses were a big stressor for sellers. So number 5 was paperwork. And when it came time to selling their home, 9% of sellers said that this was the most stressful aspect of the home selling process. So they don't like the paperwork. Maybe it's too much. It's too confusing. Maybe it's just, that's just not their jam. And a lot of folks do not like paperwork. Number 4, this one breaks my heart. Might break yours a little too, but 1 in 10 sellers said dealing with a real estate agent was the most stressful aspect of the home sale. I'm going to say you picked the wrong real estate agent, but good to be aware of because it's not like it's coming in at number 9 or number 10. No, this was number 4 on the list of items that really stressed out the seller, and dealing with their real estate agent was one of them. I think that I'm going to just sidebar here for a moment, because what I know is that the future looks like we will all be extremely great listing agents. I think that those of us that are most successful in the future will be the ones that are taking the listings and you have the inventory, and maybe you have a showing agent and whatnot and all of the things. But I really believe that now more than ever. I mean, it's been that way in real estate for decades, but I believe that heading into the future, more than ever, the listing agent will be king of the jungle. And so as you're thinking through what that's going to look like, being that top listing agent, and how to avoid having sellers say in a survey after they sold their home that dealing with a real estate agent was the most stressful aspect of the home sale. I think the number one thing that you can do is set good expectations. Set good expectations and then maintain those expectations. Because what I know is a lot of times when it comes to challenges or problems that we have, many times it's because there was an expectation that wasn't communicated, or maybe there wasn't an expectation that should have been communicated. And so I really think that expectation setting with homeowners or sellers when you're taking that listing is going to be so important. You're going to need to really have a process and a procedure dialed in. I can share with you that we're innovating at Zoodealio on something that we're releasing out to the buyers in our platform. So for certain buyers in the platform, for instance, on the Cash Plus and on the Sell Now Move Later, we are rolling out a self-touring feature so that feature can come. The house is vacant. You are the listing agent. We want to make it easier on you. We understand that there may be a shift in the way that buyers find houses. We believe that more buyers will go directly to the listing agent. And so we want to provide you with a mechanism to verify those buyers and allow those buyers to tour the home on their own without you having to go open up that home for them. And so we're actively innovating around several things that we believe will make your life so much easier in the future. So just keep that in mind. Really excited for the self-touring feature. We anticipate having that released out in July. So working hard on that, working to really push that out so that you can get some of your time back, because we know that when you're maintaining a large inventory of listings, you're not always going to be able to go Johnny on the spot and open one up whenever a buyer hits you up online or you get that signed call. And so some of the things that we're doing here are things to get you your time back and get you that peace of mind and energy back. So keep that in mind. But yeah, set good expectations with your sellers. And a while back, I had done a call all around expectation setting and listings and whatnot. And I think it might be worth revisiting. So I'll have to make a note of that. Okay, so number 3, preparing their home for sale. 12% of sellers thought that was the most challenging or stressful aspect of the home selling process is getting their house ready to sell. And yeah, I mean, it kind of is stressful, especially if you don't live in your home like it's a model home, if you live in your home like it's a home, like most of us do. And so when it comes time to sell, you've got all these things that you got to declutter and depersonalize and clean and all the things. And so it is a very stressful aspect of the home selling process for a lot of sellers. Number 2, and this trumps the paperwork, this trumps getting the home ready for sale, this trumps the problem they have with real estate agents, is the uncertainty about the outcome. I mean, we just live in a time and space where we want everything to be certain, and we want to know what's going to happen, and we want to be able to predict and count on what's going to happen. And when it comes to selling your home, you just can't, right? You just don't know when that buyer is going to come. You don't know when they're going to close. You don't know if it's going to fall out of escrow. All of the things are very, very stressful. So 20% of sellers thought that the uncertainty around the home sale and when it would happen was most stressful. So I know that we have so much empathy that we bring to the homeowner. And I know we have so much expertise and guidance. And I know that we're sharing with them that, hey, we've got you, we're going to get this done. But it's still is extremely stressful to them, not knowing what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So the number one thing that really stressed out sellers was negotiations. The back and the forth with the buyers was the most stressful part of the home sale for 41% of sellers surveyed. So that came in at number 1, the back and the forth. Again, this probably also speaks to the uncertainty of not knowing, right? You're negotiating, you're not knowing how this is going to all end up. But what we know is that this is one of the aspects that really stresses out sellers. So as you think through all of these things that we know, are challenges for people selling their home in mass, you better look at your listing presentation. You better look at your marketing, and you better have weave in a way that you alleviate all of these challenges, right? Like maybe you have a certification in negotiations and you're a master certified negotiator. Weave that in, let them know that, make that a little blurb that you drop so that they're aware that you can help them above and beyond and in a different capacity than others. Here's a quote that I took from, this is the president and the CEO of Walmart, right? But it's such a good quote, and this applies to us, and we're in such a changing time. The companies, so let's just insert the real estate agents. The real estate agents that will win are those that will continue innovating to serve people in a way that saves them time, takes friction out of their lives, and lowers some of the decision making that they have to go through. This is so well said. This is applicable to Walmart, but it is applicable to you and your real estate sales as well. And as we looked at those challenges that a lot of folks have with selling their home, we know that if we can give them back some of their time, if we can lower that decision-making threshold for them, and if we can take some of the friction out of this process, they're going to love us for it. So I want to quickly share with you how you can do that through the offerings in Zoodealio, particularly our Cash Plus offering. It's such a great offer because it does all of those things, right? It gives them certainty of that immediate outcome. It allows them to move on their own timetable so they can really have that convenient, flexible move. They get to pick when. They don't have to wait. They don't have to leave it up to chance or uncertainty. They get to skip open houses, skip showing their home, all of the things. We also have the flip your own home strategy. I'm going to show you one here in a moment that we did in Florida. It was an awesome project. Netted that home seller $140,000 more by using this strategy. So there are strategies that you can bring to the table. Only you have that allow them to do this. But there are some drawbacks to it, right? And so one of the things that's really important for me is a transparent look. It's really, hey, let's look at all of the things, and based on all of the things, is this good for you or not good for you? So it's a structured payout. There are 2 payouts to the Cash Plus offer. So that first payout, it may not be enough to get them to their next move. And if that's the case, then this offer may not be great for them. There is an additional fee. So there's a program fee attached to this Cash Plus offer, and that additional fee may not always work for that seller. They may rather just appropriately do a price reduction and take that off and then sell it on the open market. And then also, because of the way that the home is purchased with the reserve is a hedge. And so if that home doesn't sell for the amount that the buyer purchased it for, it could sell for less because they will take a price reduction. And so that delta will be deducted from the reserve, and then the remaining portion would be returned to the seller. So the home may not sell for as much on the open market as they were thinking it would. And so there's definitely some pros and some cons. And as you think through this offer type, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could leave you with, after now we've been in this cash offer space for 6 years. It's crazy. It's crazy for me to think that it's been this long. But the biggest piece of advice I can give you is present the options, but don't color the outcomes. Allow them to decide if this is for them or not. We hear a lot of people tell us things, a lot of real estate agents that we work with tell us things like, I never thought that the seller would entertain this offer, and now they're accepting it. And we hear that over and over and over again. And so there are these preconceived notions when it comes to these offers that we may have as real estate agents, but the seller may not have. Because see, the seller may value not having to do open houses. The seller may value not having to get their home ready for sale. The seller may value not having to go back and forth with the buyer. So when you can remove those points of friction from that sale, you've just given them something of value. And it's their decision on what that value means to them. Now, maybe that value is very low to them. And in that case, then they're likely going to list their home on the open market. But if those things are very valuable to a seller, if being able to time their move, if getting really quick access to the majority of their equity is important to them, then this could be such a phenomenal option. And here's another beautiful thing. So we've recently partnered with another real estate technology company, and as they've been bringing on their members onto Zoodealio, one of the things we uncovered is a power user of Zoodealio. And this lady, she's a team leader and she's crushing it using Zoodealio. And what we've learned is that she's not crushing it getting offers accepted with Zoodealio. She's crushing it taking listings, and she's crushing it using this very offer as a hedge against the open market. So her market's not moving as quickly as some markets may be. And because of that, homes are sitting on the market for a little bit longer. And what she's able to do is go into that listing appointment and share with them their offers and options. And if they don't work, she's taking the listing. But what she's ensuring them of, and the same thing that you can be doing too, is that this cash plus offer is always an offer they can fall back upon. And so in the event that the home doesn't sell on the timetable that they were looking for on the open market, or let's say they put their house on the open market and they realize that the stress of having it on the market is a little bit more than they anticipated, you always have this offer to fall back upon. Also, what I love about it is you can really uncover that price that seller is at, if that is their top, I'm holding to it, I'm sticking to it price, or if they have any movement. Because see, here's another conversation you can have when that house isn't selling on the open market and you're wanting to revisit this cash plus offer. Well, then at that point, you can talk about the program fee. The program fee, on average, 6%. It could be a little bit more depending on the house, depending on the conditions around the home. It could be more if the house is more expensive. It can also be more if the house is less expensive, right? So, but on average, we're looking at 6%. And so let's say that you have a seller and their house is on the market and they're at that point where they're getting a little frustrated, and you're doing a check-in and you're letting them know, hey, here are the marketing efforts that we made last week. Here are the results that came from these marketing efforts. Maybe here's the digital body language that's happening with the reports that I'm seeing. And you're sharing with them what's happening in their market, maybe new comps, maybe new pendings, maybe new sales. And you also share with them, hey, remember, we also do have this cash offer we can fall back on. The cash offer is at X, but keep in mind the cash offer does have a program fee of 6%. And so if it is something that you would consider, well, perhaps our first step, since we're on the market, is to take that price adjustment. If you would consider this offer that has a 6% program fee, let's adjust our price 6% first and see if that produces any buyers. So keep that in mind. Just a great way to use the offer. And I know I talk about using it as a hedge a lot, but after hearing from Misty and what she's doing with her team and how they're really going hard on using it as a hedge to the open market, I wanted to reiterate that. I don't want that to be lost on us. And I want us to know that it's not always about getting someone to take a cash offer. It's never what it's about. It is 100% about lead generating top of funnel, with one of the easiest ways to get somebody to raise their hand is give me a cash offer on my home. Okay, if you're in that consideration phase, you're going to want to see that offer and you're going to raise your hand to get it, right? And so now you're in conversation with that potential seller. As you're in conversation with that seller and you're going through all of the different options and offers, many times, overwhelmingly, the data supports this, listing on the open market is the route that they're going to choose. And when they do, make sure that they understand that by choosing you, they also still have all of these different offers and options in their arsenal. So I have a few scripts for you that you can use, that you can deploy into your business that kind of communicate this message to your marketplace. I've got a video script, I've got an email script, I've got a text script. So here they are. I'm not going to read them. I'm going to buzz through them. Here's the beauty. I'm happy to send these to you. Just send me a quick email. My email is my first name, Kayla, Kala. There's no Y, at zoodealio.com and I will shoot them back to you. The biggest thing is you want to communicate your message to the marketplace. You want to let them know that, hey, you're aware that selling a home has stresses and challenges, and you have a way to eliminate these stresses and these challenges. Here's a video script. You guys know I love video because it is so effective. A little bit about my journey in real estate. So I started in real estate like decades ago, 2003. And of course, there was no video then. We didn't even have email on our cell phones then. So started in real estate, grind pound. I did a lot of prospecting. Where we really ended up finding our rhythm was in geographical farming and expireds. And so I did just religious with my systems. I will say that as soon as video came out, though, I was an early adopter of video, and we started using video in our business in about 2008, 2009. This was like really early video stages, started using it more. And then once Facebook kind of opened up video, I really went all in on video with Facebook and with Snapchat at the time, and grew a tremendous business, was able to grow a tremendous, not only real estate business, but I attracted a lot of agents onto our brokerage. We built a huge brokerage from it. Video is massive, guys. I guess what I'm sharing with you is that if you're not using video in your business, you must be. And I think that it's such a crazy cool way to incorporate all of the Zoodealio cash offerings, because see, here's the beauty. Now you get to communicate people with people in a very intimate manner, and it builds trust so much faster. And so when you're using video, it's going to accelerate that trust building process. So people that see you on video are going to start to feel like they know you. And when you start to feel like you know someone and then you keep watching it over time, you're going to end up liking them. It's just the natural progression. In fact, there's a study about it. There's a study on likability, and it has absolutely like nothing to do with whether or not you're likable. It just has to do with whether or not they see you a lot. And so people will like you more just because they see you more. And so if you're using video and you're feeling like, oh man, this is too much, like, no, don't. Like, most people are just going to scroll past your video anyway, which is okay, because you're still getting that micro impression of you and who you are, and it's building that likability. And then over time, that likability will build to trust. And so you can accelerate that process by using video in your business. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend that you be talking about your different cash offers and options on video frequently, not all the time. You don't want to just like constantly be throwing up about your programs. On the other hand, you got to do it enough, because the reality is people aren't really paying attention. And so you want to do it enough so that it's in front of them. And what happens is when we're in that consideration phase of selling or buying, it's subconscious. Our reticular activation system will say, oh, hey, this is important to me. I'm considering selling my house. And they'll end up like watching your video and connecting with you. And so you want to do it frequently. You want to do it consistently and keep it going. It is such a game changer for you and your business. And I know I am probably preaching to the choir here. Hopefully you're all using video already. All right, here's an email that you can send out as well. Kind of the same thing, kind of lets them know that, hey, you have a way to solve some of these problems to make this process easier. And then also a text. So if you're using a CRM and you can mass text out to all the people that own homes, this is a great text that you could send. I also think this would be a good Facebook message. So you could take this message, you could pop it into your Facebook Messenger, and you could hit anywhere from 10 to 15 people on Facebook a day, and maybe do that for the next couple of weeks just to kind of cycle through your entire friends list. Give them something to chew on and marinate on in the event that they're considering selling. Okay, quickly, I'm going to wrap up today with a project that was a Zoodealio Cash Plus offer with repairs. It was from, let's see, where is that? Coral Springs, Florida. So this home was in Coral Springs, Florida, and it just needed a little bit of help. There was the before and the after of the exterior. The inside is where the magic really happened. The house was in kind of various states of disrepair. There was some remodeling that was sort of happening DIY on this one. And the seller agreed to the cash plus offer with repairs. And so they knew that as soon as they sold the home, the buyer would go in and do the scope of repairs that was set out during the inspection period. That's exactly what happened. The buyer went in. They did do a lot of repairs to this one. This one had a whole new kitchen, had all new flooring. There was definitely some other minor structural electrical work that was done on this home, but it just completely showed totally different. And just think through if you were listing the home when it looked like this versus if you were listing the home when it looked like this, or if you were listing the home when it looked like this. I thought it was funny because there was a realtor brochure right there on that counter. Or if you were listing the home and it looked like this, or let's say that this was the home and you were listing it, and again, like, people are living here, this is like life happening in this home, but we know that this is a lot better and this is preferable. Or if it was like this or this, or if bathrooms look like this or this, bedrooms look like this or this, I'd take this. Garage looked like this, or of course after, when it's all nice and cleaned out, like this. Backyard, pool's not working, sorry, inoperable. Green, probably getting mosquitoes. Decking is shot. Exterior is rough. Roof needs to be replaced. Or it looked like this. Ready to go. Move-in ready. You can literally jump right in the pool right now. Here was another before of that backyard, and then there is an after. So this was a considerable sized project. Here's the financial breakdown for you on this one. The as-is price, just due to all that deferred maintenance, DIY project, pool inoperable, roof needing to be replaced, all of that fun stuff, as-is price was $475. The home ended up selling over the list price. It ended up selling at $715. It was listed at $699. It sold over the list price for a value increase of $240,000. And you can see that when you back out the amount of repairs, it was a sizable remodel, $99,000, almost $100,000 there. But the profit to the seller was $140,000. So you can see that this strategy for this homeowner was wonderful. They brought a beautiful home to market, something that they can be proud of. And I love it. I love seeing these scenarios play out. Just want to share with you what is possible, what you have at your disposal, at your fingertips. Keep in mind that we are here to help you every step of the process. So if you're onboarding to Zoodealio and you have questions, our customer success team is here for you. If you have questions regarding integrations, maybe with Zapier or your other CRM, our support team is here for you. Once you get offers on a home, if you have questions on the offers, the breakdowns, anything on that, our offers team is here to help you through that process as well. And we just want to say thank you. We're just super pumped and excited. We have a lot of really cool things we're rolling out. I had mentioned our updated blast report. I mentioned that we're working on a self-touring mechanism for the Zoodealio vacant properties that you're relisting. A lot of cool things in the work. And then finally, I want to leave you with this. I want to hear from you. If you have feedback, suggestions, comments, anything that you think would be valuable for us to know, or something you just want to share, I would love to hear from you and receive that from you. We're looking to really keep us as realtors, as that fiduciary for sellers and buyers, keep us integrated into that transaction. And it is our heart to see that. We know that the consumer wants digital tools. We know that they want easy exits. And we believe we exist to power that for you so you can bring those to sellers and buyers in your market. So if you have feedback for us, again, please reach out to me. I would love to hear it from you. My email is my first name. Again, it's Kayla, Kala, at Zoodealio.com. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in about a week.